G'day guys. Today I thought I'd extend the task management system a little bit and make it so we can do one of the bigger things you do a lot of the time in Rimworld, which is harvesting. So you'll be harvesting berry bushes almost straight away to get the extra little bit of food. You'll be harvesting trees to get the wood down and all sorts of things like that. It's a really big thing. Now I can't remember if I did this in the item video, but I've just extended the item class to also make these plants. So my berry bush just extends the item class, and the class name, if I can remember how to spell, is going to be plant. And we're going to add that to the group plant. And so I was originally going to start with trees and chopping down trees for wood, because I think that's one of the main things you do. But I actually think I'm going to set it up so trees are an extension of plants, and I'm going to give them different harvesting things. So the general plants are going to have harvest. So you're going to have the healed root plants that you can get healing roots from, berry bushes you can get berries from, and there's a bunch of plants you can just harvest, like the potato bushes, all that kind of stuff. You harvest them and you just get the item, and then maybe the plant remains, maybe it disappears. And I was originally just going to extend that for the trees, but I think what I'll do is, if I want to include things like, you know, fruit trees or the chocolate trees, you need to be able to chop them down for wood, and you need to be able to harvest them. So let's start with the base class first. Let's make a plant that is harvestable. So what we'll need to do with our plant is let's give it sort of its health, like how much has been harvested so far. The harvest progress, which will be a float, it will start at 0. And let's add a harvest difficulty, which we may or may not implement today. And let's just give it a difficulty of 1. So we can make different plants sort of more or less difficult. And that might affect the minimum level, but mostly at the start, it would be just, you know, how long does it take to do. It's also going, when we harvest, it's going to drop an item. So var harvest item, it's going to be a string. And let's say this one's going to drop the berries. So I've got my little berries item already. That's the basic food item we've been using. And when we drop it, we're going to drop an amount. So the harvest amount, and let's make that a range. So let's grab a vector 2i. And so vector 2i, and let's say whenever you harvest one, it will drop between 5 and 15 berries. And, you know, we can make it more complicated later. We can bring in the skill and the age of the plant and stuff like that. But let's keep it simple for now. And so the way it's going to work is our pawn is going to try and harvest it. So it'll call this try harvest, which will pass through an amount, which will be a float, which will be based on the pawn's skill. And this is actually going to return a Boolean. Oops. So what we're going to do is whenever the little guy tries to harvest it, we'll grab our harvest progress and we'll iterate that by the amount times 1 divided by the harvest difficulty. And the reason we go 1 divided by is because that's our harvest difficulty is 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. So it's just the amount times 1. But if the harvest difficulty is 4, then it'll be 1 divided by 4. It'll be 0.25, 25%. So any harvesting will be cut into quarters. So that's how we'll slow it down. Oh, I just spelled harvest difficulty wrong. All right, I need to return that. So what we'll just do is go if the harvest progress is greater or equal to 1, then we will return true. So our guy knows he's finished harvesting, or else we'll return false. So just to interrupt myself for a moment, if you guys are enjoying this, and I'd love to see them keep coming, it'd be great if you could go down to the Patreon link below and chuck us a couple of bucks. I'd really appreciate it. But that's enough begging for cash. Let's get back to ripping off Rimworld. Okay, now how is our guy going to know it's time to harvest this? What we need to be able to do is click on a berry bush. First we need to be able to spawn a berry bush. Now I'm actually going to change the way I've done this a little bit. If you followed for the item manager, we just made, originally we're putting in different arrays. For food, we're going to have different ones for all the different items. What I'm going to do instead is just make a big list of item prototypes, which we will sort when we need it. So instead of saying load food, load this, load that, load the other thing, we're just going to load item prototypes. And of course that doesn't exist yet. So let's scroll down here and make it. And now the way I'm going to do it is similar. So what I did the last time was load food, just checks this directory of food and grabs all the tscn files. We're going to do it a little bit differently, or not really differently at all. It's just going to grab the item folder and grab all the subfolders and all the tscn files in there. Now I'm not going to sit and type this because it's quite long. In fact, I think I found this one on Stack Overflow. And so there it is. What this does is this returns all the directory contents. You give it a path. So we give it our items path, you give it a suffix, and it will return every file name with that suffix. And you can see it actually works very similarly to my load food thing. So what we'll do is we'll just go var all file names equals dir contents, and the path is our item path. Got to put those quotation marks. And we want all the .tscn files. And then what we'll do is just the same way we appended to everything to food prototypes. We'll just go for file name in all file names. We will just go item prototypes.append load file name. And let's just, as we go, let's just print those and we'll make sure it works. So let's load item prototypes and make sure that works. Good, let's run it. And there you go, we've got all our item prototypes. We've got berries, simple meal item, great. So now they are all in this item prototypes folder and we can just spawn them using this. The other thing is, I don't really like this. This works well for testing, but I want to be able to spawn things by name, by string, by something that's referenceable. So we're going to change our spawn item method a little bit. Func spawn item by name. So we're going to have item name, which will be a string. We're going to have the amount, which will be an integer. So that's what we can have piles of things. When we drop those berries, we can drop between 5 and 15. And then we're going to have the world position. Sorry, no, the map position I want this to have. And the difference is the world position is the position in pixels. My world doesn't work just in pixels. I've also got my grid locations. So this position here is 16 by 16, but this position here is 1 by 1 in my map position, 2 by 2 in my grid position, where this would be 32 by 32 in the amount of pixels, which is what the game works on. So we need to keep track of that. And so this is going to take a vector 2i, and it's going to adjust that for us. And the way we spawn things by name is we just go var new item. We'll list through all our item prototypes. And we'll just go if the item.get path equals the item name, then we will go new item equals item.instantiate, and the new item.count will equal the amount. I just realized I forgot to put the little colon there. And that's right. If we go through the list and find it, then what we'll do is we'll go if new item is not equal null, then we will go add child new item. And so that will add it as a child of the item manager, which is where I'm putting all the items, and that is what we'll put it in the world. And I'm also going to add it to my list of all the items in the world, which is what I'm using to sort through stuff without having to deal with the file structure here. Append new item. And we just need to set its position, which is new item.position. And since we're putting in a map position, when we're telling Godot where to put it, we need to convert it to a world position, which we do here. So map to world position, and we give it map position.x, map position.y. And if that works, when I go spawn new, spawn item by name, and I ask for a berry bush, so I'm going to grab the path and put that in there. So that's how we're calling things now. And if I ask for one of them, because the stacks don't really make much sense with plants, and the position is going to be a vector 2i, and I'm going to put it at 10, 10. Sorry, vector 2i. So let's see if that works. All right, now I've got a berry bush here, and you can see it's at the grid position 1010. If I put it at the world position 1010, that's like here. All right, let's make a second one. And let's just put that at 1512, a little bit further across. So the next thing is we need to be able to click on these berry bushes. So let's go and grab our berry bush. And the way we're going to do it is like this. I'm going to add an area 2D. I'm going to call that my clickable target. Sorry, let's call it my click target. And then that needs to also have a child, which is a collider, so a collision shape 2D. And what we'll do is we'll make that a rectangle. And let's make that just fit over this guy. And so this is what's going to catch our clicks. And the click target, we're going to attach a script to that. And this guy is going to catch an input event. So we do func input event viewport event shape index. So this will be automatically called when you click on it. That's a lovely little thing that the area 2D does with the shape, with the collision shape 2D. And what we'll do is we'll just go if the event is action pressed, click, then we will go get parent and call on click. So what we're doing here is when we click, this guy will catch it. So if we click inside it, this guy will automatically catch it. And we just check, is that event the click action, which we created in project settings. That's in our input map. That's one of our actions, the click action. And then all we're doing with this is we're getting our parent, which will be the berry bush in this case, and call an onClick method. And the reason we do it like that is because click target is actually going to be something I can save and keep separately and put on other things as well. So I don't want anything specific in here. All it does is pass the message up to the berry bush that, hey mate, you've been clicked. So let's go to the berry bush, func onClick. So what's he going to do when he gets clicked? He's going to send a message to the task manager that I've just been clicked. Let's make a new task. Now this guy doesn't have a reference to the task manager yet. What I might do is go back to the base class and add that. So not task, the base class of plant is the item. And so what we'll do is every item, when they're ready, they'll go on ready bar task manager equals dollar task manager. So now he's got access to the task manager, and he'll probably need access to the item manager as well when he's asking to be despawned. Okay, so now we go back to our plant, and so now he can go task manager, and you see that reference is there now, and let's add a task. The task type be task.taskType.harvest, and the thing it's going to harvest is ourself. Now, of course, we don't actually have add task in the task manager yet, so let's add it. So it's going to be the task type and the target item. So we'll just make a new task. And what we'll do is we'll go for now, if the task type equals task.taskType.harvest, then we will go new task.init harvest plant task with that target. And what we'll do is we'll add it to the queue, which we don't have yet. So we'll have our queue of tasks. So up until now, our task management system has just been you request a task and it gives you the eat food task. What we'll do now is we'll make this guy go task queue.append new task. Now, init harvest plant task doesn't exist yet, so let's go one level deeper to our task. And remember, we've got this init find and eat food task. That's the one which designs the structure of our task for us. So this one needs a target item. And so what this is going to do is it's going to create a task, a subtask I should say, is going to be a walk to task because we already know the target. And let's set the target item to target. All right, so that'll be our first subtask. And the second one would just be to harvest that thing. So we make another new subtask. That is to harvest it. It's got the target item, and then we append it to our list of subtasks. Great. So now when we run this on a task, it will create all these subtasks for it. So let's go back to our task manager, target item. All right, now let's just change this a little bit because when I request a task, I want to grab a task from the queue. So let's change this a little bit. So when you request find and eat food task, it'll grab this one for you. And if you request a normal task, it will just go, let's say, so if there's any tasks, so if the length of task queue is greater than 0, it will grab that task. Number 0. Of course, we'll have to have better sorting than this later. We will remove it from the queue. And then we'll return that task. And otherwise, if there's nothing in the queue, you return null. All right, and we just need to fix that with our little PawnAI. Because what he does right now is if he's got no task and his food need is less than 0.5, he'll request a task. Now it'll be request find and eat food task. Or else if he doesn't need the food, he'll just ask for a regular task. Request task. Let's just run it, make sure I haven't broken anything. Yep, he's still eating his food. When I click here, you can see that he goes straight there and tries to harvest it. So what's happened is I've clicked on it, it's created a task, it's added it to the list. When this little guy has asked for a task, it's given him that task. He's done the first one, he's done the walk to task because he knows how to do that. And then he's walked to it, and now he's got the harvest task, which we haven't programmed into him yet. So let's do that. Go back to our PawnAI. So when he starts a harvest type task, nothing happens at the start because the harvest is going to take a few turns to run. So we'll just put him in the doing subtask mode so he won't jump straight to the next task. The action in this one's going to happen in this do current task. So you can see here we've got while he's eating, it's adding to his nutrition, blah, blah, blah. We're going to add a similar one for harvest. And so what we'll do first is we'll just grab a link to that target item. So var target item equals current task dot get current subtask dot target item. And then we can go if target item dot try harvest. And what we'll do is we'll pass through, well, let's give this guy a harvest skill. So let's just add one here, var harvest skill, which is a float, and let's just equal it to 1 at the moment. Harvest skill times delta. So when he tries to harvest, it'll jump over to that plant and it'll harvest it by a certain amount. Then if it's finished harvesting, it'll return true. If it's still harvesting, it'll return false. So what I can do is if it's done, we can do the regular stuff that happens when we finish a task. Or else, what we'll do is we'll print target item dot harvest progress so we can see the harvesting as it's happening. Let's see if that works. So let's click both of them. Oh, well, that's not supposed to happen. Oh, there's a problem here that I've still got the old, when I click, it tells him to move. So I need to fix that. I didn't realize I still had that there. So go back to the Pawn base AI, and you can see here, this was just for debugging my path management system. Let's get rid of that. Good. So now when I click, it won't tell him to move. So clicking here does nothing. I can add one task, add another task, and you can see he'll finish off the harvesting. Done. And he'll finish off the harvesting here. Done. And now he's hungry. He's looking for food. Doesn't matter. We'll fix that later. Now you can see, obviously, we've harvested it, but that hasn't actually done anything. We can add another harvest task. Well, he won't do it because he's locked in a little death loop of being hungry right now. But we're not taking away the bush and we're not adding the food. So let's add that now. So the plant, if it's finished harvesting, we will talk to the item manager and we'll say remove item from world self. And then we'll go item manager dot spawn item by name. And what we're going to spawn will be the harvest item. Now we're doing it by the full path, not just by a name like that. So let's get rid of just berries and we need to drop the full path name in there. So we're going to spawn that item by name. Let's see, for spawn item by name, there was the amount. So let's put in the range. Now for the range, let's do a bit of randomness. So var RNG was for random number generator dot new. And then what we do is we go randy range, and it's going to be harvest amount dot x to harvest amount dot y. And the final thing we need to do is add his position, which we could just do that, but that's the world position, and this wants a map position, a grid position. So let's go back to our item manager. And we've got this function here, which converts a map to a world position. We need to do it the other way around. So we're going to go world to map position, and the world position comes as a vector 2i. So let's just go world pos to vector 2. So I think I just said it was a vector 2i. The world position comes as a vector 2, and this is going to return a vector 2i. So what we do, we just return world pos.x, and we divide it by 16. So world pos.y divide by 16. And we don't need that little +8 because that is getting rounded out anyway. And that was to put us in the middle of the square. Yeah, so that's it. I need to make this a static function so it's accessible outside. So now I'll go back to my plant and we go item manager dot world to map position, and we just pass that our position, and that'll handle it for us. So it should delete itself, which the item manager takes care of, and then drop some new items of a random amount. Let's see if it works. Click, click. So we do the first one, we harvest it, and it's harvested and drops the berries. And he said he even ate the berry afterwards. What a champion. All right, guys, I think that's enough for today. Obviously, that's normally not what the plant would do. Normally, a berry bush would leave the bush behind and drop the berries, but I'm going to add that at a later date because we're going to have some plants will do that. They'll drop the harvested item, and some it will remove the whole tree. And so that's not really going to work until we can bring it back to like a younger version and different phases of growth, which we haven't done yet. We might later on implement the growth. So when you start off with a seedling, it grows up to a bush and then it grows the berries. And then when you take the berries, it'll revert back to that older state. But that's a bit more complicated, so I'm not going to add that in yet. For the first version, you harvest something, that tree's gone. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks a lot for your time, guys. I do want to say I'm having a lot of fun making these and I'm loving all the feedback. But if a couple of you guys could throw us a few dollars on the Patreon, that'd help me out a lot. That's enough of begging for money. I'll see you next time.